Yesterday, as the week got underway, we went back into one of those, dynamic every other week things that we've been going through for a couple of years now. We still have a couple more years to go. And that is the moon going out of bounds. I've been, I never know for sure exactly what the right direction is to go in these weekly considerations. But I looked at what was on the plate for this week, and there's not that many things. We got a new moon that's going to be happening while out of bounds on the 4th. And I got to thinking about the moon, who is this moon that travels around every month saying hello to every aspect of this cosmos, if you will. And, I've heard a couple of people mention recently that the moon is the people. And so I decided to look a little bit more profoundly into just how that is. Because the moon rules Cancer, you think of Cancer, the home, the hearth, the family and stuff. And as I, worked on my dreamscape with this question in mind as to, how do I take and get this, ever changing lunar expression to be an experience of the people and the citizens, and I had to actually travel back a ways in time to actually glean an understanding of that moon Cancer home hearth, your family, your roots and stuff. And as a citizen, back along the way, you were likely tuned into, or at least aware of, what is going on in the community, in this family, in this group of citizens together. And I went, oh, okay, I can see where that moon. This is not the case currently here in our Western culture, particularly, or what should we say, in modern culture on the planet. The idea of citizen is not quite so easily recognized as all these other people that we hang with. No, hardly the case, because we have versions, if you will, of who are these other characters that populate my world. They are citizens. Yeah, you can say they are citizens. So there's that potential lunar connection there. But do I, from a lunar perspective, do I feel the presence of others, whether I'm with them or not? And this brings up just an observation that I had as I was watching the beginning of the Olympics last Friday. The process and the camaraderie that was being exhibited through not just the show that was being put on, yeah, it was there as well, but amongst the participants. And I've seen it in some of the events that I've managed to watch a few of. There is a recognition of the fact that we have come, these are the individual participants in this, to represent, yes, our countries and stuff, but we, each other, are participating in a dance with each other. We are citizens of this globe. We're not just a citizen of a particular country. And the camaraderie, rather than just the competition that is transpiring, that I can see happening, is amazing. It's actually delightful to observe that the moon is feeling. What does it mean to share space with you, even though we're doing this so-called competition and stuff? The measurements in hundredths of a millimeter or seconds, you know, between the varying levels of the participants is very, very small. A super small window of people's abilities on display. And as I was also considering this, I've been looking at lots of different things. I'm not going to get into what my considerations are as far as the upcoming presidential election here in the United States, because I watched the shenanigans, shall we call it, about what is going on in Venezuela right now, and some of the comments coming from Trump, and it's just kind of like, holy free holy, what on earth is the reality that some people are tuned into and ignoring, what it is that the citizens, we the people are, actually standing up and representing something that is far more of a camaraderie than a competition. As Monday shifted into Tuesday, today's Tuesday, by the way, well, I woke up in the morning and a little note on the counter as I went down to the kitchen from my wife, who left it in on her way to work. The dishwasher is not working. It's not getting any water. So we've been thinking about replacing the dishwasher for a couple of years because it has shenanigan moments. And so I removed the dishwasher yesterday morning and went through the process of finding a new one. And that's why I didn't do my celestial chatter yesterday. I was off in a different tangential reality. And by the way, we are in the Leo season right now. So happy birthday, happy solar returns to all those people who have the sun as the primary character in their charts, radiating out this expression of light, energy, and love. There's something quite dynamic in that. Anyway, as Monday became Tuesday, the moon shifted into, you guessed it, out of bounds, and it will be out of bounds until the 3rd, I believe, the 3rd of August. So this week, the moon out of bounds. What kind of meanings does it out of bounds represent? I'm going to just read you off some terms that can very easily be applied to when a planet is out of bounds. These are unrestrained, extreme, independent, wild, awkward, vulnerable, privileged, magnified. There's a variety of ways to spin any one of those terms. But that's the energy that we as people have been going through for a couple of years. Every other week, the moon goes out of bounds for a few days and then comes back in bounds. And then a couple of weeks later, goes out of bounds. So we as the people in this dance we're doing here on the planet, and this is all people around the globe, every other week, we get that, that wild card that shows up, What does it mean to be me? How do I feel in this current moment? Because oftentimes a good way to describe an out of bounds planet is Uranian. The level of unpredictability that is present there, it gets amplified. And so every other week, we as the people, citizens, we got this, that lunar orb up there circling around us every month saying, don't get too comfortable. I may throw you a curveball. And right now, here in the elections in the US, there are curveballs being thrown out right and left. I won't say by who, but, there are definitely some really peculiar versions of reality that I have no idea in what left field they're coming out of. They definitely don't cut the muster, as it were, as far as fact checking goes. There's, somebody's making up delusional versions of the reality of what it is that's transpiring. Anyway, this week's astrology, I haven't even shown the chart yet. Let's go find our chart. Chart. There we go. There's our chart. And this is Monday. As you can kind of see, oh, look at that. And getting ready to kick off this moon going out of bounds, it's holding hands with Uranus, the land of unpredictability, sudden, impulsive kind of things that you didn't expect, the unexpected. And, just, to add an extra little spin to that, the reason for Uranus's shaking, if you were to, get us off kilter, which is really Uranus's function, is to awaken us to things that we may not have been entirely aware of. And that out of bounds factor has that same potential. Are we paying attention as a lunar being to what is being shaken in the current life dance to awaken us to things that we may have overlooked along the way, partly because we weren't looking, and also partly because, it's highly likely that there are characters afoot who are spinning tangential stories out across the ethers for us to tune into that may or may not be entirely true. Yeah. And Uranus's function is to shake us so that we can, go, wait a second. Where did that come from? Does it fit into what it is that I know as a soul being I came on earth to live into? Anyway, Tuesday comes along. If we look here, see this nice red thing underneath the line for the moon? Moon is out of bounds. Yes, the moon is out of bounds. So, citizenry, fellow human beings on this planet, are you, comfortable sitting in your chair or wherever you happen to be? Enough so that you might recognize that there are things afoot that may not be entirely real, at least unpredictable at some level. So Tuesday comes along, our Mars day. Where is Mars on that? Oh yeah, there we go. There's Mars. And the moon, early in the morning on Tuesday, went across that Mars to say, essentially you could say it translated the light from the unpredictability of Uranus to the dynamic, driving, impulsive nature of Mars in Gemini. And it's in Gemini. What questions arise? What curiosity stimulates you? How much are you questioning the things that are being presented to you in any moment? And are you learning from it? Or is it just a process that's passing by like water under a bridge? your choice. Are you paying attention? Wednesday, our Mercury day. Mercury is always close to the sun, and here's Mercury. It's eking its way. Actually, I'm going to go back a couple days. Now, watch Mercury down here. 2 degrees 20 minutes on Monday. 2 degrees 49 minutes. It's not moving very fast because just like, a week and a half ago and stuff, it was moving more than a degree, almost a degree and a half a day. And you can kind of see it's starting to slow down. Wednesday comes along, it's gone 3 degrees. So it's moved a few minutes. And as we go through the week, we're just going to bump this ahead just so you can see this. We're getting, look at that. Went from 3:13, it moved 20 minutes on Thursday, or going into Thursday. Going into Friday, it moved another 13 minutes or 16 minutes. Going into Saturday, it moved another 10 minutes. And what's taking place is Mercury is slowing down because it's getting ready to go retrograde and will so on the 5th, which is next week, on Monday of next week. So, go back to our Wednesday, our Mercurial day. Mercury goes retrograde about 3 to 4 times a year. This is the second time for this year. It's in Virgo and it's going to go back into Leo. It rules Virgo. It has a real strong affinity for that. So this slowing down, if you will, of apparent slowing down that is taking place with this Mercury dance right now is, it's saying, pay attention, because when a planet actually stations or stops at a particular point in space, it's at its most potent for us here on planet Earth. That energy is saying, do you feel this? Do you feel the kind of energy that is being offered to you in this moment? I mean, really, that's and it's Mercury, it's our sense of curiosity, and it's in Virgo, so it's the organization of that curiosity, if you will, into a presence that can be, leaned into, counted on for having met certain criteria that for the individual, I mean, after all, we are the citizens that we're talking about here today. To really put forth as, like a pushpin into a map, this is a destination. Just out of curiosity, I had no idea what it was, but I said, I'm looking to see what does the Sabian symbol for that particular degree where this planet, Mercury, is going to station and go retrograde next week on Monday. Give you a little bit of a look ahead since it's Monday this week. And also, Mercury retrogrades are good ideas to be prepared for. The Sabian symbol reads, a man becoming aware of nature's spirits and normally unseen spiritual agencies. The keynote, the opening of new levels of consciousness. And another key statement is we call this imagination. One of the things about a Mercury retrograde cycle is that if you know they're coming and you prepare yourself for the fact that there's going to be likely a 3 week window, in that 21-day range where uh, versions of our thought processes, of our communication abilities, of the capacity we have to share information with one another, are not necessarily going to go as smoothly as we might anticipate. Well, right there, you've just been informed that if you're anticipating things to just continue on as they were, you will be surprised. So here we are, 90 some days away from the election. We're going into this first week, second week actually, of a new candidate on the Democratic side for president. And Mercury's going to be retrograde. Be aware that the mercurial agent of the spin doctor or the trickster, or if you will, the con, is, probably excited during a mercurial retrograde period because, oftentimes our thoughts can be jumbled. Things are not coming through as clear as I'd hoped they would. But I'm going to go back to that if you prepare ahead of time for a Mercury retrograde cycle, this is an excellent, excellent, excellent time to look into something quite specifically. However, it's not something that as you go into Mercury retrograde, you start to do that without some preparation. The preparation is, gather together before Mercury goes retrograde those resources required to do this investigation process. And therefore, you can, really, because hopefully you're not trying to continue to spread the message, and this is going to be a challenge for the the current political experiences going on our planet. Here in the West, in the United States, anyway. You know, be prepared to hear things that you cannot believe. Highly likely that that is the case. Don't believe them. But as far as your own personal world, wherever that Mercury in Virgo is in your chart, look at that particular house and see what kind of energy is being, are you being asked to look a little bit more diligently at? In this case, we look at this chart, we got, oh, yeah, of course, we got Mercury and Virgo in the first house. First house is about, yourself. This is your inspiration to put out an image into the world of who you are. It's the house of self. And so if that's where your Virgo happens to be, this Mercury retrograde cycle in that sign of Virgo initially is asking you, do you know who you are? I mean, really, really deep down, do you understand yourself? And are you projecting that reality of who this you that you are out into the world effectively enough that others will be able to understand you? Now we're going into a Mercury retrograde cycle. The understanding capacity may not be as clear for those 3 weeks at that time. However, there are factors in play that say that that's just a temporary blip on this dance that we're doing. And, the irony of ironies is the moon's going to go back out of bounds next week. The citizens will be, with any luck, having some level of cohesion with one another, not out of bounds, not being challenged by unpredictability factors and stuff. Yet Mercury's going to be retrograde. And in the middle of that Mercury retrograde cycle, the moon's going to go out of bounds again. So while this Mercury retrograde cycle is dancing upon us, asking us to dance in certain ways, know that, you may get some wild harebrained thoughts in the middle of that retrograde cycle that, are spinning you off in a tangential direction you had no idea you were going to go in. Is it wrong? Is it right? You have to make that determination. I can't make it for you. I do know that it would be wise, while we go through this 3 week of Mercury in its retrograde dance, to take everything with the appropriate amount of salt, to understand that somebody may be spinning a tale that isn't entirely true. Anyway, enough for our Mercury. That's just a preparation thing for you. On Thursday, our Jupiter day. There's Jupiter. You can kind of see Mars and Jupiter getting kind of close together there, 6 degrees. That impulsive, driving Martian energy with curiosity at the helm is asking us, am I clear on what it is that I want? Remember, Mercury's slowing down. Clarity is right there, right on the cusp of the moment, saying, I'm going to station on Monday, pay attention. And Jupiter, right there saying, don't think small, never think small. Friday comes along. Oh, on Friday, look what we have. Venus down here is exactly square to Uranus. Fixed square. Venus. What are things worth? How tuned in am I to others? These are Venusian thoughts. It's in Leo, Can I take a chance? Gambling is another term for Leo. Venus in Leo. It may be that here in the Leo season, with Venus in Leo, some of us might be more willing to gamble. In what way might that be? Yeah, we're all familiar with the sports gambling or casino gambling and all that kind of stuff. But gambling can also be, how am I, and this is something I'm just going to throw out there, Mars and Gemini. Gemini has an affinity with, automotive transportation. Not the best place to do your gambling. However, that kind of energy, it is in the air. So drive defensively would be a wise thing to be aware of at this current time, especially Mars coming into alignment with Jupiter there in Gemini. Jupiter says, jump. And your conscience says, I think I should just take a step forward. If your step happens to be on the gas pedal, think twice. Don't take those chances that could cause you issues and other people issues. You will also notice that here we are, the moon sliding ever closer to the sun. This is the third. You can see there are basically 9 degrees, and in a day, which basically means that overnight on this Saturday, the moon is going to catch up with that sun. It looks like about 11 degrees, but let's look a little bit closer. It's 12 degrees. New moon at 12 degrees of Leo. And what the time of day? We're here Sunday at 4 o'clock in the morning when the moon catches up with the sun at 12 degrees of Leo. What does the Sabian symbol have to say about it? Because, you know, every new moon is time to set your sights on what is it that I want to accomplish during this particular lunar cycle. This one beginning here in Leo, you know, are you inclined to take a chance? It is in the air after all. Oh. Leo is a fire sign ruled by the sun. So there's a dynamism to the energy that Leo brings to the table all the time. So you would think that this particular new moon, approaching the center degree of Leo, might have, you know, some particular dynamic energy that is saying, you know, get out there, take your chances and stuff. Well, I'm going to just, you know, look at the Sabian symbol real briefly with you. And it reads, an old sea captain rocking himself on the porch of his cottage. And the keynote, the quieted mind's recollections of crises and joys long past. Quiet recollection. Perhaps this next lunar cycle, starting out with that kind of energy in Leo, wherever Leo happens to be in your chart, might be a good time for some reflection. Don't be in too much of a hurry to set your intentions, always on the table at any new moon cycle, because that new moon initiation point can last a couple, 3 days either side of that new moon. But the energy that is, you know, awakened, if you will, when the moon and the sun come together, they're dark of the moon, excellent time to be able to view the skies at night. No extra light if you happen to live out in the country like I do, to block the dance of that celestial surround. A jillion stars, a few planets maybe. Let's see, what planets could we see after the sun goes down? Near the horizon, we have Venus and Mercury. Because if you saw me just bump it, the chart around here. See that sun and moon going up? That's noon point up here. This is sun going down. Sun goes down, boom. Oh, I see. Venus and Mercury are so close to this, you may or may not be able to see them off in the western horizon after the sun goes down. And these planets, right now below the horizon, Saturn should be able to be seen. Mars and Jupiter, early in the morning, visually, they are out there. Anyway, that's all I have for this week's considerations, and I want you to make sure that you are paying attention to one another as we're setting our intentions for the new moon this week, and as we're preparing ourselves to do the dance with Mercury retrograde, along with our fellow citizenry. It's not just you that might have befuddled thoughts. Have patience with one another. We have something to do, and it's together. So let's do that together, and I will see you all next week when Mercury goes retrograde. Oh, what befuddlement might tangle my tongue as I try to express what is going on during that particular cycle. Ciao for now.